When it comes to this Treasury thing, we're obviously still trying to make sense of it, but it does appear that Elon Musk, even though he's not an official member of the government, doesn't have an actual, formal role in the government, does now have access to this payment system. This is really pretty unprecedented territory. And it's something that obviously Democrats are incredibly alarmed about. And we're going to have to see whether Republicans simply go along with this or not.
Why do you need access? I mean, here it is. I'm a fully elected member of Congress. I don't have that kind of access. So when you start talking about who should have access to literally the system that controls approximately $6 trillion of our dollars, I don't really understand, because the people that worked in those positions could only distribute money per the law. So why is it that the Doge Committee would have to have access?
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and Jasmine Crockett just laid it all out on the line. No sugarcoating, no fluff. Just straight truth about what's happening right now in this country. Crockett went on MSNBC and tore into the corruption in real time. And let me tell you, every single person in this country should be paying attention to what she said.
He should not have access to this. And with people already having angst about Elon Musk and the things that he does as it relates to technology, this is not instilling anything more than another layer of fear, especially since normally when you are going to be in a position like that, you have to go through security clearances. And let me tell you, some people think security clearances are all about whether or not you have a warrant or not. No, they look at whether or not you have some sort of divided interest. They look at whether or not you have good credit. They look at so many other things. And we're talking about someone who's unelected, unvetted, and definitely unconfirmed that is now literally sitting atop our $6 trillion. And we don't know what it is that he's doing. And we honestly don't know what role he has.
This is a hostile takeover of our democracy happening in broad daylight. And we're watching it unfold like we're trapped in some episode of The Twilight Zone. Trump is purging the DOJ, wiping out the people who held him accountable and replacing them with his own personal goons. What could possibly go wrong? Meanwhile, Elon Musk, an unelected, unvetted billionaire, now has access to $6 trillion in federal transactions. And on top of all that, Trump is torching our economy, picking fights with Mexico and Canada, and setting the stage for another trade war that's going to hit working class Americans the hardest.
Post says it is unclear what exactly Elon Musk's team wanted to do, why they wanted access to this incredibly sensitive system. One former Treasury Department official tells the Post, quote, "This payment system has never been used in a way to execute a partisan agenda. You have to really put bad intentions in place for that to be the case."
Now, you tell me, does any of this sound like normal politics? Does this sound like a democracy? Trump isn't just getting rid of people that he doesn't like. He's gutting the DOJ, firing prosecutors, wiping out FBI officials, and demanding lists of people who worked on the cases that exposed his crimes. You don't do that if you're innocent. You don't do that if you're planning to follow the law. You do that if you're planning to break it and get away with it. And this isn't just about revenge. This is about power. This is about removing every last obstacle between Donald Trump and total control. Every dictator in history does this. First, you get rid of accountability. Then you install your loyalists. Then you run the country like your personal kingdom. That's what Crockett is warning us all about. And while Trump is clearing the way for his power grab, Elon Musk, a private citizen, a tech billionaire with an agenda, a guy who has every financial conflict of interest you could possibly imagine, and yet somehow he's just been handed direct access to the federal government's payment system. This is your social security number and voting information. This has the potential to change ballots. And what's worse is that this is a man who wasn't elected by a single person in this country. He didn't go through a background check. He wasn't vetted by Congress. And yet now he has more power over our financial systems than most elected officials do. If a regular government employee wanted access to this kind of financial data, they'd have to go through intensive security clearances. They'd have to prove that they have no conflicts of interest. They'd have to undergo a deep background check, because when it comes to government money, the standards are supposed to be high. But Musk, zero vetting, zero oversight, full access. You tell me if billionaires are above the law. And what about all the MAGA morons who are always screaming about a two-tiered system of justice? The hypocrisy is dumbfounding.
And think about it like this, Alex. You know, everyone hates Congress. That's just what it is, right? But as a sitting member of Congress, I mean, I had to give up my ability to practice law. I am prevented from being able to practice law to prevent potentially somebody dropping a load of cash on me and I do something that is nefarious as one of 435. And now we're talking about a guy who literally gets government contracts from the United States and has not had to divest, has not had to, I mean, it is really awful.
With Trump's loyalists running the Department of Justice, who's going to investigate it? Nobody. That's what Jasmine Crockett was getting at. And while this massive power shift is happening behind closed doors, let's talk about what's happening in broad daylight. The economic disaster Trump is about to unleash. Trump promised to lower prices for the American people, and yet here we are. Egg prices are still high, food is still expensive, and now Trump is starting a trade war with Mexico and Canada. Mexico and Canada aren't just our neighbors, they're our biggest trading partners. We depend on them for food, for oil, for raw materials, for auto parts. And when you start throwing tariffs around like a lunatic, guess what happens? Prices go up. And who gets hit the hardest? Yeah, the same working class Americans who voted for Donald Trump in the first place. Farmers are already struggling because of Trump's immigration raids. Crops are going unpicked, fields are going bare, and now, with these tariffs, Mexico and Canada are hitting back hard. They're cutting off American exports. They're refusing to buy bourbon and whiskey from red states. They're slashing imports of United States goods, and that's just the beginning. Because if this trade war escalates, gas prices will skyrocket, food prices will explode, manufacturing jobs will disappear, and Trump, he's going to blame everyone else. He'll stand on a stage, lie through his teeth, and pretend like he's fighting for the little guy. The purge of the Department of Justice, the power grab by Musk, the economic suicide mission Trump is sending us on. And she's right. If we don't wake up, if we don't start paying attention, we're going to wake up in a country that doesn't even belong to us anymore. Because this isn't just corruption. This is a hijacking of democracy, and we're watching it unfold in real time. Let that sink in. The richest man on the planet, a guy who makes over $1,000 every single second, now has control over a system that ensures your grandmother gets her Social Security check. That's more money in a second than millions of seniors, veterans, and disabled Americans have to survive on in an entire month. And guess what? He and his team think that those people are freeloaders. Senator Ron Wyden, the ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee, confirmed that Musk's people now have full access to federal benefits, contractor payments, and financial data on millions of Americans. Not only does that give him an unfair advantage in business, allowing him to see who's getting paid and when, but it also raises massive national security concerns. Until now, this system was highly restricted, with only a handful of federal officials having clearance. It was one of the most closely guarded financial infrastructures in the country, but Musk and his team kept pushing to get in the moment that Donald Trump took office on January the 20th. And when they met resistance, they steamrolled right through it. David Lebrick, the top official at the Treasury Department overseeing this system, pushed back against Musk's team when they first tried to gain access. He had been there for over 30 years. He knew how dangerous it was to let a private billionaire's crew into one of the most sensitive databases in the country. So what happened? They forced him out. Lebrick was placed on administrative leave after objecting to Musk's people having access. That's right. The guy who was trying to protect national security got sidelined so that Donald Trump's new Treasury Secretary could hand Musk the keys. By Friday, Bessent finalized the deal, making it official. Musk's Doge team is inside. And who's got access? One of the key figures now able to sift through the financial data of millions of Americans is Tom Krause, the CEO of Cloud Software Group, a tech executive, a private businessman, now has unrestricted access to everything from Social Security payments to federal contracts. You don't have to be a genius to see where this is going. Wyden has already sounded the alarm. He warned that Musk's access to these systems is a direct national security threat. It endangers U.S. cybersecurity and creates massive conflicts of interest. This is exactly what we've been warned about for years. A billionaire class tightening its grip, dismantling government oversight, and redirecting power into the hands of a few elites. And somehow, instead of fighting it, the Trump administration is rolling out the red carpet. This has the potential to harm every single American. This is what happens when power gets consolidated into a small group of the ultra wealthy. They are rewriting the rules to serve themselves. And if you're not in their tax bracket, then you don't matter to them. And here's the worst part. This isn't even the end game. They're already talking about dismantling the FDIC, the agency that ensures your money in the bank. They want to eliminate federal protections so that if your bank collapses, you lose everything. They want to privatize social services so that if you need health care, housing assistance, or disability benefits, you're at the mercy of corporations looking to turn a profit on your suffering. This is about complete financial control, not just over the government, but over you. And once they get it, they will not give it back. If you don't see where this is headed, you're not paying attention. We've got a thug in the White House, a divider in chief. All of our information has been compromised. And that doesn't scare you, there's something wrong. And that's a fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.